if you could please put yourself on mute for the duration of the presentation, that would also be greatly appreciated. So we also want to invite those who would prefer to receive this presentation in French or a language of your choice to please look in the chat box. You're going to see a link to Wordly. So please click on that link, select your language of preference and click attend. Once you do that, we encourage you to have a split screen so that you are able to follow along with the presentation while having the translation. As well, for having joined us this evening, you will be entered into a draw. So there will be 10 prizes for a gift card to a restaurant for $100. So if you have not already registered for this webinar, please also click on the link in the chat and make sure you sign up, because if we pull your name, we want to be able to contact you to give you your prize. So we are so very pleased that you are able to join us tonight for this webinar on keeping your relationships strong to kick off the Healthy Relationships campaign, which is a national campaign that will run for the next 2 weeks. Now here locally, the Military Family Services team, PSP Health Promotions team, and the Family Violence Advisory Team have all worked together to bring you some local initiatives such as the Hold Me Tight virtual licenses that are available to you at no cost, the Family Violence Resource Card that will be distributed in NCR electronically, and also there will be paper copies available, and the weekend seminar for couples that will be available in French promoting the Hold Me Tight program. Lastly, we just want to encourage you to check out the Healthy Relationships campaign link that will also be put in the chat there, just to help you get inspired to learn about ways you can strengthen your relationships, and also just increase your awareness or refresh your awareness of all the resources that are available to you as a CAF member or a military family member. So without further ado, I can now go into introducing our guest speaker this evening, Dr. Normand Gingras. So thank you so much for agreeing to be here to kick off our campaign. Normand studied clinical psychology at the University of Ottawa, where he worked with Dr. Sue Johnson, a renowned international expert in couples therapy. He works in private practice at the Ottawa Couple and Family Institute, where he does individual and couples therapy. He has taught and conducted supervision in individual and couples therapy to students in the doctoral program at University of Ottawa and l'Université du Québec en Outaouais. He is an accredited supervisor and trainer with the International Center for Excellence in EFT and offers EFT training mostly in French in Canada, Switzerland, and France. Normand holds an electrical engineering degree from the Royal Military College of Canada and worked as an aircraft maintenance officer in the Canadian Forces until 1990. He is happily married to Chantal with a son, Marc-Antoine, and he enjoys cycling, skiing, and has a passion for aviation. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Gingras, for being here this evening, and I will hand the floor over to you.
Well, thank you. Merci, Dorothy. Alors, good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. So I'm really happy to be here tonight to be talking about healthy relationships and attachment and mental health and the link with mental health. So I guess I'll just let me, I guess I'd better go to share my screen. Okay. And there we go. So I just want to make sure people can somebody tell me if you guys can see that right now? Can you see my screen? Kendra?
Yes,
Great.
yes, we can.
Great, good. Okay, so we're going to talk about relationships, attachment, and the link with mental health. We already done the introduction and the housekeeping. So what we're going to be doing is talking about research. The research in the last, say, 10, 15 years. I won't go into a lot of detail. I'm just going to be staying, with the summary and focusing really on what it tells us, and then we'll look at, based on that science, what does relationship distress look like? And then how do we get out of that? How do we get out of distress? And it's what we call relationship repair. Okay. And then at the end, we'll be talking about the Hold Me Tight program, le programme Serre-moi fort en français. We'll be talking about each of those programs. And then closer to the end, we'll have time for some questions. All right. A little bit about diversity with everything that's happening these days, and you know, thank God that we're doing something, we're doing more about it. But basically, at ISEF and at the Ottawa Couple and Family Institute, and this whole approach that I do, you know, emotionally focused therapy, which is based in humanistic psychology, is basically saying, and attachment science all confirms, they all confirm the same thing, is that basically it doesn't matter who we are, what culture, what color, what religion, we all have a need to be loved and to love. And it matters not who we are or how we identify ourselves. So, you know, and it's just, it's really up to us to respect that as much as possible in this day and age. So cracking the code of love is what Sue Johnson likes to say attachment theory has done for psychology and for couples therapy in particular. And basically attachment theory, which was created back after the war, the Second World War, by a guy named John Bowlby, a British psychiatrist who was tasked by the British government to do something about all the orphaned children. Now, you can imagine after war, there were a lot of orphaned children. And so, well, we need you to look at what to do with them. And so he started studying children and what was happening. What he noticed was some children were doing well, even though they had lost their parents, and other children weren't doing well. And the big distinguishing factor was that child able to attach to somebody like a nanny or a nurse or a volunteer? Were they able to attach? And was that older figure, able to be consistent and be loving and responsive to them? And if they were, then they went well. That was a good sign. If they didn't get that, if there was no caregiver or no consistency with the caregiving, they weren't in good shape. So basically, it brought him to think about attachment as something very basic to humanity, and that we need to attach to a significant other. It's hardwired by evolution in our genetic makeup. We need contact with others, and we're basically not made to be alone. Isolation is traumatizing. And I'll say it again, we're not made to be alone. On n'est pas fait pour être seul, okay? And when you do have secure attachment, when you do get that secure attachment, there's a lot of things about it, but maybe two important things is it offers a safe haven and a secure base. A safe haven is a place I can go to, a person I can go to when I'm in trouble, when I'm scared, when I'm sad, when I'm hurt. Okay, think of a child who gets scared or is teased by other kids or something, and then comes back and comes over to mommy or daddy and maybe needs to cry a little bit. Okay, so that's the safe haven. The adult version of that is, I don't know, if I'm facing cancer all of a sudden, I got rung out by my boss, I got hurt or something. Who's there? Who's available for me? Who can I turn to be able to weather that storm and share it with somebody and share about it emotionally, right? A secure base is very close to a safe haven in the sense that knowing I have a safe haven, knowing there's somebody there, I can take some risks. I can move away and children, for example, small children, when mother's in the room, they can maybe move out of the room or go a little further or maybe risk themselves meeting another child, but they'll check is mom there? So that's kind of the secure base. So knowing mommy's there, I can take some risks in my life. And it's the same for us adults. Knowing my wife is there with me, knowing my husband is there with me, or my partner, whatever, I can take more risks that it might be harder to take without having that secure base. Key ingredients around attachment. So if you're going to have a good attachment relationship, 3 things are important, because a lot of people maybe learn about good communication and being close and stuff like that. But when you break it down in a more scientific fashion, it's about accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement. ARE, okay? You're accessible, or the other is accessible. They respond to you in a positive way, and they're engaged. That means you can count on them to be there, consistently over time, over the years, right? And we know that when you're in a secure relationship, there's positive impacts on mental health. People who go through bombings, studies show that couples who are secure versus those who are not secure, and by secure, they're in a good relationship, by insecure, they're not in a good relationship. Secure couples do better facing stress. Bombings in Israel, for example, there's one study that looked at that. Health is better for people who are in secure relationships. Heart attack recovery is quicker if you're in a good relationship. So more and more and more research is showing the positive impact on not just physical health and not just mental health, but both physical health and mental health. Okay. One other thing, for example, is that the hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin, what we call the cuddle hormones, play an important part in our physiology, in our neurophysiology. So, for example, oxytocin is released when women are breastfeeding, and vasopressin is released during orgasm, both for men and women. Both of those hormones favor social interaction, getting close, getting cuddly. And even, another thing I read recently is oxytocin even plays a role in favoring or increasing our ability to read emotional cues from others. So that's just an example of how we're just wired. Our physiology, our hormonal makeup is wired to be in relationship, and hopefully in a secure relationship. So what we know is that secure attachment soothes us. It regulates emotion. When a child is scared, they go to mommy or they go to daddy. And if daddy responds in a positive way or mommy responds in a positive way, what happens? Well, they get soothed, they relax, and then it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then they go back and play, right? And we need that. We need somebody to go to soothe us and to help us regulate, is what we call co-regulation. Others are there to help us. And this kind of flies in the face of what a lot of psychology has talked about for many, many years, where you should be independent and you should be solid and you should not need anybody, not depend on anybody. And attachment is saying, no, 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 no. We need to depend on others. The more you can depend, the more you can be independent. So this idea of us being like a James Bond, guy who needs nobody and is always alone, and that's opposite of what the science is telling us now. And when we face difficult times, and I'll say even good times, we want a significant other to stand with them and to protect us or to be with us. And I'm stating a good time. Think about an important moment in your life. You get married, for example, and your mother or your father who don't approve of your husband or your wife, your future husband or future wife, don't go, or he's not the right religion, or whatever, for whatever reason, right? They don't go. That's going to hurt, even though it's a happy time. It's not a difficult time. It's a happy time. So even in significant happy times, we want people with us. We're definitely relational beings, right? And it's not just humans. If you're a mammal, I'm suspecting most of us in this room tonight are mammals. We need connection, and we need positive responsiveness. So we're going to look at this video, and I just want to make sure. Can you see the video right now, Kendra?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, it's up there. So let me reshare my screen and make sure we see the video this time. Okay, now can you see the video?
Yes.
Great. Okay, and can you hear it?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so let's watch.
I don't hear anything.
Well, it's just like there isn't any real noise, but actually you don't need sound. But okay. I imagine he's fighting some kind of tiger in his dream there. Okay. Right. So when the little one gets scared and mommy is, kind of half awake here, but she picks up on it. She picks up on it. My little one is scared. And what does she do? She responds positively, takes her in his arms, soothes him, regulates him, right? Cats can do that. They're programmed to do that. They're genetically wired to do that. So are we. So are we. Okay. So we'll go back to the slide here. Hang on. Okay. We're back on the slides. You guys are seeing the slides? Okay, thanks. Okay. So, so secure attachment, kind of says what? I will be there. I will be there for you. I will respond to you. And then when I believe that, when that's what describes my relationship to somebody, and I've learned and I've grown up with that as well. It makes it easier if you've grown up with it to be able to appreciate it as an adult. There's felt security, and like I know with my wife, Chantal, she drives me crazy sometimes. We don't agree sometimes. Even today we had a little bit of a spat. But there's one thing I know about Chantal. She will always be there for me. If no matter what happens to me, if I get sick, if I get in an accident, if I get maimed, if I get seriously injured, she will always be there for me. And that is definitely a good feeling to have. I can trust her to be there for me. And I hope she can trust me to be there for her. And so, that's what secure attachment is about, is being there through thick and thin, and that you can feel that. And we're able to demonstrate acceptance and availability, and we can offer comfort and support and express love and desire, of course. So when you're securely attached couples find it easy to get close. They're comfortable depending on each other. They're not worried about being abandoned or getting too close, even if they disagree. And an important feature is they deal with stress much better. So if you're in a good relationship, you're going to handle stress better. Okay. And a neat experiment that research study that demonstrate that is we're going to touch about it in this video. So I'm just going to reshare my screen again. Can you guys see Sue Johnson here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before, well, I'll just let her talk, and I might add a bit when stop the video and add a little bit on while she's talking. So this is about a new study that she's done. Well, actually a few years old now, but interesting, very interesting study. It really shows the link between facing stress and a good relationship.
Give you a sense of where this new science of love is going. In our recent study, we took couples who were unhappy together and who felt really insecurely attached with each other. They really didn't feel safe and bonded with each other. And we took them, and in our sessions, we changed the way they responded to each other emotionally. We changed their relationship, not just in terms of satisfaction, but in terms of this deep sense of bonding and safety. And then we put the women in an fMRI machine. And what we found was that when they had gone through this change and they felt securely connected with their partner, this sense of connection, literally holding their partner's hands, buffered them from the horror and alarm and threat of knowing that when they see an ex, they're going to be shocked on their ankles.
So just to give a little bit more context, before they had therapy, the lady was put in the MRI machine, and there was like 3 different scans done of her brain. And in the brain, they're looking at 3 different parts. One of the parts has to do with perception of pain, and another part has to do with perception of fear. And then there's a third part, which I think it's the anticipation part, okay, which is also related to fear. And so they scan her brain, and then at the same time she might receive a shock. So she's looking at a little screen in front of her, and if there's an X, I think it's 50% of the time she receives a shock at her ankles, and it hurts. And we ask them, to what extent does it hurt? And on a scale of say 1 to 10, how much it hurts. And then so they do that under 3 conditions. One is she's alone in the MRI machine. 2, she holds a stranger's hand. And 3, she holds her husband's hand, her partner's hand. And this is before therapy. And this is when, they're not doing well. They're not in a secure, they're not in a secure relationship. And then after therapy, they repeat the same thing. Okay. They're in the MRI alone. They're in the MRI holding, they get shocked alone. They get shocked holding a partner's hand, and they get shocked with their husband. And the big difference is when they hold the husband's hand. The husband, who's now a secure partner, when they hold the partner's hand, that's when the brain doesn't light up. Before, it was lighting up. It was lighting up a lot when, the pain centers, the fear centers in the brain, they were lighting up. And the other thing she says is when they say, well, how painful is it? And she says, it's just a little bit uncomfortable. So there's a big difference in fear perception and in pain perception if you're in a secure relationship and you feel like the other is there for you. I'll start the video again.
They're holding their partner's hand. It was like, who cares? So what? I'm going to be shocked to my ankles. He's holding my hand. Everything's fine. And this is the way our mammalian brain responds to contact with somebody we love. But for us to be able to create that in our sessions and then see it happening on a brain scan, that's just the most exciting thing you can't imagine. So it tells us we can help people create this bond that everyone is just trying so hard to find in their life. We can help people. And when we do that, it changes the safety of their world.
Yeah. Sue likes to say, facing a dragon alone is very different from facing a dragon together. And I really believe that. And I guess this nice thing about this experiment is that it kind of shows that in a very rigorous scientific way that, being securely attached with somebody who's important to you, who's a significant other, makes a difference, makes a big difference. Okay. So that's a little bit about the science. So that's a very, very brief summary about the science. And given, this science, what does distress look like? Because, when we say what's wrong, when a couple's not doing well, what's wrong? What's going wrong with them? Is it bad communication? Is it bad, they've gotten bored with each other? Is it, they're not sharing tasks equally? And different therapies will want to change different things or talk about different things or look at different things. But what we do in emotionally focused therapy, EFT, what distress is for us, given this the significance of the attachment bond, is that there's an insecure relationship that needs to be changed. And so when you are in distress, when you are in an insecure relationship, when you lose connection with the other, what does that look like? Well, we know it's kind of a predictable process. You protest, you get angry at the person for not being there. That is typical. You might cling and seek. If this person still refuses to respond after you've gotten angry with them, then you might cling and seek. You get clingy. You don't want them to leave. And if they still don't respond, well, eventually you get depressed and you get despaired. And if they still don't respond, well, finally you detach. So detachment is actually a healthy thing in the sense that if you're better to not stay with somebody who never responds and find somebody who will respond. Kind of like the kids that John Bowlby met, in the hospitals and in the hospices and the orphanages. They detached from their dead parents and they reattached to somebody new. So detachment is a necessary thing. It's about survival when in those types of conditions, right? But basically, we can also reattach, and that's a nice thing. And so we're going to look at another video here that talks about this whole distress when you lose contact with the other when the other refuses to respond. So let's watch this. Where am I? Okay, I'm just going to stop that and back. Share screen again. And here we go. So you can see the black screen, 2 experts in bonding.
Yes.
Okay, and you can hear it.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Science tells us clearly that bonding goes from the cradle to the grave. Staying close to a protective loved one is the main survival strategy of our species. We can now look at pivotal moments in the dance we call bonding in infancy and romantic love, and pinpoint the core moves in the emotional dance that define so much of our lives and our happiness. This drama has just 5 basic moves. We reach, invite connection. If we don't get a response, we protest and push, or we turn away and shut down to protect ourselves from rejection. We finally go into meltdown. In a good relationship, we find a way to turn back and reconnect. If we love, we will do anything we can to get a response from our loved one.
Some of you have seen how this drama pans out in a YouTube video my lab released a few years ago called The Still Face. In it, we see the powerful impact a simple lack of emotional response has on a child and the emotional gymnastics the child goes through to try to deal with this lost connection. We need loving contact like oxygen. We really do not have many ways to deal with the pain of disconnection at any age. We will show you this original video and then show you how the exact same drama plays out with adult lovers.
Like girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points.
Yeah.
The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Now let's look at the exact same drama in an adult couple at a moment when emotional connection is lost. We're going to be filming the session today so that you can watch it later, yeah? Okay, I'll be back in just a second.
I think this is going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think that we're going to have fun at my sister's birthday on Saturday. I love when you and I do things together as a couple.
Yeah. Look, I think we already talked about this, so I don't want to go. It's just not my thing, so I'm just gonna stay home and watch TV.
But you said you would. And this matters to me. It's important that we do things with my family. That we all be together. What is happening here? Are you gonna talk to me? Now you're putting up your wall like you always do? Are you listening to
Okay,
me?
look, I just don't see how your family reunion is my issue, okay? Look, we talk about it later. We'll talk.
It seems like my feelings and what's important to me is never an issue with you. This matters to me, Ted. You said you would come.
No, we can talk about it later.
This is where I feel like we're not even a couple. Like you don't care about my feelings. Don't you never talk about these
Okay,
things?
well, now you're just being critical. That's not talking, you know? I'm just gonna go back to work.
I'm all alone here. Where are you anyway?
To make such,
Do I-
it's like a total emotional thing. It's not a big deal, okay?
Do I matter to you at all? You're mean. Mean and selfish. You don't care about anybody but yourself.
Why'd you marry me then?
Question. Why did I? You don't care if I hurt. You're just not there for me.
When we feel cut off from our loved one, we go into a kind of panic. We have lost the connection that is our main source of safety and comfort. The baby becomes overwhelmed by fear and anguish when the mother does not respond to her. She loses her balance, her ability to regulate her emotions. There is no solution here to her sense of abandonment. We see the same kind of process in Jill.
Yes. Jill is a strong, capable lady, but her mammalian brain codes this situation as totally painful and as a danger cue. She cannot rely on Ted to respond to her when she needs him. The reaching, calling, protesting, desperate demanding, and turning away and meltdown are the same in adult and infant. Now let's see a moment of repair in both relationships.
So before we go to that, I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about distress and what it looks like. So with those videos, we've seen we've seen the what it looks like at, from the child's perspective, mother-child perspective, and what it looks like in an adult couple. And we're talking about the similarities there. But I just want to talk a little bit more about what distress looks like. Okay, so when we think about what's creating the problem for this couple, they get locked in this, what we call a demon dialogue or a bad cycle or a bad, a dance that instead of bringing them together, keeps them apart. On one level, they're both creating the distress. It doesn't matter, who brings it up first. And in this example, they're talking about, the couple's talking about the party, and he doesn't really want to go, and then he says that, and so she really reacts, and then he kind of stonewalls her, and so that's the typical dance or demon dialogue that they kind of get stuck in. And if they can get out of that, fine. We all get stuck in demon dialogues. We all get stuck in a bad dance. But if we can get out of it, if we can do relationship repair, then we're good. Okay. And as you can see, they both react to each other. The more he pulls away, the more he goes silent, the more she ups the ante. The more she ups the ante, the more he goes silent, right? Maybe he'll react as well, but he's basically, still walling her off, right? So what we see here is the affect, negative affect, it's not positive, it's not lovey-dovey, they're getting more and more negative with each other. It's this type of relationship, this type of cycle, or this type of dance This type of demon dialogue is rigid, repetitive. They do this all the time. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the kids, the garbage, the dishes, the finances. We kind of do the same thing, right? And as you can see, there's a lack of emotional engagement. She's trying to reach for him. He walls her off. He pushes her off, right? And in this case, unless they're able to repair, they're both lonely. They're both isolated. And it gets more risky interpersonally. It gets harder to say soft things. It gets harder to say loving things. You know, you're expecting to be, you know, some kind of backlash. Another way to look at this is, let's say, you know, we can take the example of Jill here. She's kind of feeling alone after he walls her off, of course, and abandoned, but she doesn't say that. What does she do? She gets angry and frustrated and say, why aren't you coming? Why aren't you doing this? Why not? You promised. So she criticizes him. What does he end up feeling? Probably we don't see it because he's kind of stonewalling her, but he ends up feeling kind of guilty or at fault. Doesn't talk about that. What he does show, though, is he gets rational, focused on a solution, or in his case, you know, I don't want to go there. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to stay home and watch TV. So he stays kind of rationally, but he doesn't talk about feeling bad because he knows he's hurt her. So he withdraws emotionally, and we saw that there. And the more he withdraws, the more she feels lonely and abandoned and maybe sad and scared. Again, that's not what we see. What does she show us, or show Ted, is she gets more critical, more angry, more dissatisfied, okay? And then she attacks even more aggressively. And then he starts feeling powerless, disappointed, and sad, scared of losing her again. He doesn't show that, but that's what we get to see in therapy when we start digging, and he withdraws even more. Okay. And then we get into a crisis, and a crisis could be he just leaves, or he goes and watch TV or whatever, or they have a big all-out fight. They really scream, somebody slams the door, and then maybe they don't talk to each other for a few hours, a few days, right? And so that's the typical dance of distress. And some couples are stuck in this all the time. That's all they do, right? And they never get moments where they cuddle, where they're close, where they feel safe. And so, but all of us get stuck in this some of the time. This is the typical cycle, but we got to be able to get out of it and do relationship repair. Okay. I won't talk about this because time is running out, but you know, the same cycle kind of repeats itself if somebody's got PTSD. I know in the military, you know, some of you have been deployed and have had some pretty intense and spirit experiences. And if somebody does have PTSD, all these reactions that we saw get magnified, basically. Okay. So distressed couples can't create a positive interaction, can't de-escalate and repair. They get stuck in the dance, and they get stuck in this intense, negative, emotional dispute. They can't soothe each other, either themselves or the other person, and they have a hard time staying emotionally engaged. And that's what we saw mostly Ted do. He was disengaging. She's trying to engage him, but he's staying disengaged. Okay. And so what's the key here? What has to change? Well, we need to learn to be empathically responsive, right? And that's the essence of a good relationship. If I can respond to you in an emotional way, in a vulnerable way, that is what creates the safety. Okay. And what we talk about ARE is, are you accessible? Are you responsive? Are you engaged? And if we can do that, and not all couples are able to do that. You know, you have to be in a fairly secure relationship to be able to do that. But if you are able to do that, then you can affect relationship repair. So let's go back to the video and see how that pans out for Mom and the little one in the still face video, and with Ted and Jill. Where is the video? Yeah, that's the one. So can you see the black screen?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
Look, it's not you, okay? It's not you. And you're right, when it comes to this topic, I shut right down. It's just your family is just so intimidating. And, they're always asking questions about my career and how I'm doing and how we're doing. And it's a little much. I just block it out, okay? But it's not you, and you're really upset right now. And I don't want to see you upset. And I don't want you to think that I don't care about your feelings. So when this thing is done, we'll get out of here and we'll talk some more, because you're right. We have to talk, okay? Sorry.
This is the moment of repair that seems to separate love that lasts from love that ends up in the divorce court or constant conflict. Every bond has moments of painful disconnection, but as long as there's a way out of the aloneness and the connection can be restored, the bond becomes safe again. The key is that Ted finally tunes into his lady's distress and responds on an emotional level, just like the mother with the infant. Ted helps Jill with her vulnerability by just opening up and being present with her. This contact calms down her nervous system, and now they can talk in a different way about any issues that come up between them. So, Ed, now we know that the drama of romantic bonding is an adult version of the bond between parent and child.
Exactly. Disconnection hurts, and how we handle these inevitable moments of vulnerable disconnection define how these bonds work out for us. We often don't see the impact on our partner of our lack of response to their emotional call.
Right. Reaching and responding on an emotional level is what transforms these moments of disconnection. But we can get stuck in angrily pushing for a response or shutting down. Now we know the basic steps in the bonding dance, and that this dance is often defined by how we deal with our fear of disconnection, and if we're able to move into repair. We are learning to actually shape the dance called lasting love and togetherness. Imagine that. This changes everything. Ed, it reminds me of Walt Whitman's comment on life. He said, "We were together. I forget the rest."
Okay. So I would like to come back to the presentation. And so it's important to be able to get unstuck. And how do we get unstuck is by being empathically responsive to the other, right? Yes, that is better communication, but it's a special type of communication. It's a much more emotional communication, tuning into the other's distress, right? She was getting angry. We couldn't see that she felt alone, but we know that's what he was responding to. And he felt kind of, threatened as well, about going to the family because they're going to ask all these questions. And he wasn't able to share that until later. He was just stonewalling her all the time. But underneath his stonewalling, there was a feeling of threat. So he was able to share that, and that changed, it was able to, and by sharing that, he was able to affect the repair. Okay. Now, some couples can do that, some couples can't. And if you're in one of these couples who can't do that, it never happens. We're always fighting, and we never seem to, be able to connect in a more open and close fashion. Then you probably need the help of a good therapist. I would suggest an EFT therapist, and do go and get it, because it's hard to get out of this alone. It's hard to change if you're stuck in this type of dialogue. What we saw with Jill and Ted, up to the point where there was repair. If you're not able to repair, and all we do is fight and fight and fight again, and it seems like it's always the same fight, then, get a good therapist to help you change that. Okay, and Sue is the one who invented this therapy. And what I'd like to do now is just show you a bit of a clip about her working with a South African couple. Okay, and so we're going to just see her work and slowly getting him to open up, because if we haven't done this before, or we've kind of lost it in the relationship, it's hard to do. It's not natural to do. Well, we kind of lose it, or we've never learned it. So what she's going to do, what we're going to see her do, is work with a South African couple. And so we'll go to that, share my screen. And so let's watch Sue work with these guys.
There's the two of you, balancing, dancing a kind of new dance. Takes a little bit of time. It's okay for it to take some time. But I want to stop here a minute. It must be hard for you. The sense I get is you really care about this lady, right? It must be hard for you then when you see her getting sad, getting depressed, right? Getting irritated with you, and you're trying to figure this out. You're trying to figure out what's going on, but you don't really know what to do. That must be very difficult.
It is, because there are times, I think, when we have spats, and you think a little bit about it, you can probably uncover where that might have arisen. But I think for other episodes, it just blindsides me.
It blindsides you. That's a powerful word you just used.
I don't see it coming at all.
I get it. When you're blindsided, it's like suddenly something awful is happening that you couldn't predict, that you don't understand, that you never expected. And that's a hard feeling. Blindsided is a very powerful word, yeah. So suddenly when your lady's upset with you, particularly if she gets irritated with you, right? That's when you get the message most clearly. You don't see it coming, you don't understand.
Yeah. And I think I do express my frustrations, especially when I don't understand it. I might say, how did this happen? And I think that's the part of the trying to talk you out of the sadness or the irritation. And again, that just exacerbates the situation.
But somehow blindsided, you help me, blindsided is a difficult place to be. It's almost like suddenly, I think of being blindsided in a car. I think of suddenly the whole world changes when you're blindsided, right? You have no solid place to stand. Suddenly you can't predict anything.
Right. It feels like your foundation that's unsettled.
Suddenly there's no secure place to stand, right?
Yes, it's just an unsettling.
Suddenly your lady's really angry with you.
Yeah, it's very unsettling.
And your lady's angry with you, and it's almost like you've done something wrong, and she's upset, and you don't know how to fix it. Am I getting it?
Yeah.
That's a hard place to be. That's kind of alarming, yeah?
Yeah, very.
Is that an okay word?
Yeah.
Is that alarming?
Yes.
I hear you, Craig. That is a really hard place to be. And I'm remembering something that Mark said to me. You used a word. I think you used the word that somehow in these moments you feel a sense of doom, impending doom. Do you remember using that phrase?
Yeah, I think that sounds familiar.
That's one of. So suddenly when she's upset with you, it's like alarm bells. Suddenly you don't understand. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how to do anything about it. Your lady's upset with you and you have this sense of impending doom. You're blindsided. You're alarmed. Yeah? I get that. That's a really difficult experience. Can you feel some of that as we're talking about it?
Yeah, I think, again, the second part of the two issues that I had, what does this mean for the immediate future? I'm talking about minutes or hours, not long term. It's really unsettling to know what the forecast is going to be like.
Okay, hang on. I need you to slow down a little bit for me, okay? So what I'm hearing is that when you feel, I said to you, can you feel this feeling? You said, yeah, right? And then you said to me, and what does this mean? What does this mean? What does it mean for the future? Huh? So part of this sense of impending doom and alarm and feeling blindsided is you go up into your head and you say, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And what does this mean? What does this mean? What? It means that maybe I might lose my lady, or it might,
No, I don't have those fears though.
Yes.
So it's the short term.
It's like, what does this mean? Where's this going to go? Suddenly everything's uncertain.
Yes, I mean, that's what I mean.
There's no sense of control.
Yes, minutes or hours. I think that's what I was referring to. I mean, you might say, oh, that's tolerable to ride it out, but for me, it is very unsettling to know,
There's no control. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to help. You suddenly have no control. It's almost like you're helpless.
Right.
Can you feel a bit of that as we talk about it? What does that feel like?
Feel my throat a little bit.
Does it? It's almost like your throat closes.
Yes, the throat.
I mean, that is something that happens in alarm. We kind of go,
yeah.
Sometimes we stop breathing. It's kind of a startle response, right? You've been blindsided, right? Everything's going wrong. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't have a sense of control. You have this sense of helplessness. That's hard. That's hard. Have you ever told her about what that feels like? But right here, right now, what you're saying to your lady is, in these moments when you are upset and angry with me, or even when you're really, really sad, I don't know what to do. I'm blindsided. I'm alarmed. I feel helpless. I don't know how to help. I don't know how to be with you. It's really, really difficult for me. I feel helpless. I don't know what to do. That's what I'm hearing you say. I get this feeling in my throat. I go off in my head and try and figure out all the things to do. And usually that probably looks to you like I'm silent. And you feel even more alone.
And I just want to point out, all this is going on inside him, but he doesn't show any of this, right? She just sees a guy who's kind of blank, who's kind of silent. So she feels alone. She doesn't know all this stuff is going inside his head. He's really trying, he's working at it, but it's not visible, right? And Sue is going to get him to share what he usually doesn't share, which is the struggle that I'm in. When I see you get depressed or when you get angry with me, the struggle that I'm in inside myself, because you're so important to me, and I'm trying to be a good husband, and it's not working, and I'm struggling. It's feeling awful that I'm struggling and it's not working, but I never share that with you. So Sue's going to get him to share it, to open up about that.
But actually, I'm desperately trying to figure this out here so that I have some ground under my feet. Yeah. But what you're saying to her is, in these moments, I feel helpless. I don't know what to do. And I'm actually scared to tell you that. That's what you're telling her? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Good. Can you tell her that?
In those moments when we have disagreements or feeling sad, I do have tremendous difficulty in telling you how I feel. That I feel that it cannot be fixed.
That I don't know how to fix it.
That I don't know how to fix it.
And I'm supposed to know how to fix it. Yeah, if I'm a good husband. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you. So I want you to look in her face. What do you see in her face?
Now, especially in a bad relationship, he's taken a big risk with her by telling her something he's not used to doing anymore. Maybe if they're fighting a lot, maybe he's expecting her to kind of get mad at him right now, even though, you wouldn't think that would happen. But that's what he might be expecting, because he's never done this before. They've never done this before. It's the first time.
I see compassion and I see a listening self.
Yeah, nothing bad happened. Yeah.
No.
Because you didn't cross complain. She didn't say, I'm upset, and you said, I'm upset too. You're right. You're a very clever guy. That doesn't work in relationships. But that's not what happened here. You shared your heart with her. Right? And what I hear your lady asking for is for you to come close. That's just what you did right now. You did it very brilliantly. You rested and you shared your heart with her. Can you help him? What was it like for you for him to do that?
I think that was really wonderful, and I'm so happy that you could express that feeling, because then I don't feel like I'm alone in feeling sad or lonely. I feel less alone.
So that's what we try to do in therapy. We try to shape these, meetings of the heart, where he is able to express something he's never dared share with her. He's usually silent. He usually walls her out, like we saw Ted do with Jill. But then he's able to open up with the help of the therapist, right? And that brings me to what we're going to do with the Hold Me Tight program. If within the Hold Me Tight program, the objective is to create through different exercises, different dialogues, for you to have these conversations that help you get closer. Okay. When it comes to the Hold Me Tight, the licenses that we're talking about that were paid for by the folks who in charge of the mental health program. This is a 6-hour online program. You can do it at your own pace, and you'll be going through different dialogues, different exercises to help you revive or improve your bond. Okay. And so I really encourage you to sign up for this. And I hopefully with what we've talked about tonight, it gives you a picture, it gives you a flavor of what it could look like, what it's designed to do in terms of bringing you closer, because that is what's key. That is what's important. En français, we have the programme Serre-moi fort, and we don't have it online, of course. It's just it was very expensive to just get the one in English. It would cost another fortune to do it in any other language. But basically, what we're offering you is to do it in person with me, and I have a few colleagues helping me out with this. But it's basically a 16-hour program, so over 2 days, a Friday, a Saturday. It's kind of divided into 8 sessions that last 2 hours each on a certain theme. So what we do is we kind of talk about a certain theme, and then that's followed by a dialogue, sort of an exercise. Okay. And so if this is of interest to you, if this is something that you're interested in based on what you saw tonight, and in trying to improve your relationship, create a more secure bond, then En Français, it will be on the 5th and 6th of November. So I really encourage you to sign up. And there's a maximum of 8 couples. So if you're really interested, do it quickly, because I'm thinking it's going to fill up. And so basically, that's what I had to talk about tonight. Maybe we can open it up for questions. Hello?
Don't see any questions in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. If anyone did have any questions, just gonna say, if anyone did have any questions, they can feel free to unmute themselves and ask the question. You can also place your question in the chat if you didn't want to speak on the microphone.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, this is based on attachment science. This is based on research. We know it works. We know the program works. If you're interested in the 6-hour program, go for it. If you're interested in the French version, En Français, Serre-moi fort, working in person, well, it'd be online. We we wouldn't be in person, but it'd be online. If you're interested in that program, then please show your interest. I guess it's Dorothy and Kendra who could direct you in terms of how to register, how to do that. Maybe you guys can talk about how to register. And I just want to thank you for your time. I know I've gone a bit over time, so I'm gonna stop now and let you guys take over.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you again, Dr. Gingras, for taking the time to host this webinar tonight. I'm trained in EFT and I still learned something new for participating, and I'm sure that everybody here learned a few things from this webinar. I do actually just now see there's one question in the chat, so I'm just going to jump over to that if
Great.
that's okay. Okay, where's the question coming from?
Sorry, I think a lot of the questions are coming in to me directly, so I'm not sure how to change that, but I'm going to read a couple of questions.
Okay.
Because yeah, they seem to just be coming right into me. So for all of you that are interested in the Hold Me Tight licenses, the holdmetight@cfmws.com is where you would email, and that will go to Kendra, and she can get you those Hold Me Tight licenses. And those are for military members. Unfortunately, there is no right now civilian equivalent at this time. They are specifically military. I don't know if that will one day open up or not. The French Samoa is the 16-hour. That's the 2-day program. It's a Friday and Saturday coming up November 5th and 6th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that also too, you can use the same email address that I put in the chat, the hold me tight at cfmws.com. So now my other question that came in was, how do you feel about initially communicating via writing if you're uncomfortable with talking?
You mean between a couple?
I would assume.
I guess. Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, any communication is better than no communication. But I think what's important, whether you're writing or you're talking, is being able to convey what's happening emotionally for you. So if I can write, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that, and I, that is key to be able to communicate emotionally. If you know how to do that already, that's great. I think you need to do it, via writing and via or in person or via, talking. But if we're stuck and it's not going well, probably neither is going to work that well. If we're stuck in one of these demon dialogues, whether we're writing it out, I mean, maybe one of the advantages of writing out is you can think twice about what you're going to say, and you can kind of take the time to craft it. Sometimes in the heat of discussion, we say things that come out too fast, and then we say things that are hurtful, right? To kind of illustrate, if I step on a little boy, if I have a little 3-year-old and I step on his toes and it really hurts, and there's a couple of ways the little guy can react. One is he falls on his bum, he starts to cry, and he says, "Daddy, you still, my toe really hurts," So what am I going to do? Well, I'm probably going to come up to him and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, let me kiss and make it better," blah, 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 right? But another way he could react is he could kind of react and say, get angry at me and say, "Daddy, you idiot, you stepped on my toes," and whack me one in the shins, right? How am I going to react? I'm probably not going to want to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, let me kiss and make it better," right? So his emotional reaction almost dictates mine. If he goes soft and vulnerable on me, I want to get close. If he whacks me one in the shins, I'm going to probably, scold him or move away, right? And couples do the same, If I get hurt, if you hurt me and I'm able to say, "Ouch, that hurts, that really hurt," probably the other one's going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, da, 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 da." But if he hurts me or she hurts me and I whack her one in the shins, "You idiot, what the hell you do that for?" Which is the equivalent of whacking her in the shins, probably I won't get the same type of response back, right? And it's easy to get stuck in one of those cycles or the other, right? We tend to get stuck in a cycle where all we do maybe is whack each other in the shins. So to come back to your question about, is it better to write or to speak? In that case, maybe writing lets me take some distance and I won't respond so quickly, but you see how that response speaks loud in terms of what's going on for me emotionally, right? If I can be vulnerable and say that hurt, well, that invites you know, a very loving and caring response, empathic response. Yeah.
There's another question for you as well.
So the other question is, if you communicate emotionally and the other partner remains silent and shuts down, what can you do?
Well, I guess it's kind of depends, but you know, just make it clear to them, I'm trying to reach you. I'm really trying to reach you. I'm hoping you can respond. I'd like you to respond. It's really hard for me when you stay silent like that. And I'm really trying to reach you. And if there's still no response, well, then maybe that's when you need therapy, right? Because you know, as we saw in the clips, you know, when they're able, when Ted is finally, I mean, he goes into his kind of, you know, stonewalling mode, and then, but then he comes back. He's able to come back, right? He learned how to do that somewhere, right? In therapy, we teach you how to do that, to come back from the stonewalling. Typically, it's the guys who stonewall. Typically, the guys are the ones who are silent. You know, typically the women are the one who chase after and might get angry and get irritated. You know, that's typical. One pursues, the other one withdraws. 80% of the time, the men are the withdrawers and the women are the women are the pursuers. 20% of the time, it's the opposite. Okay, but whether you're a pursuer or withdrawer, they're both looking for connection. They're both looking for connection, and it's hard not to be connected. It might not show in that withdrawer. He might not know how to do that. He might not know how to respond if he stays silent. But believe me, there's something going on inside. When you reach for him, there is something going on inside. He just maybe doesn't know how to show it.
Okay. Is there any other questions from anyone for Dr. Gingras?
Maybe not a question, but just a correction with the email address. I missed the first part of it. So it's not just hold me tight at CFMWS, it's MFSNCR hold me tight at CFMWS.com.
All right.
So just as a correction, and also too, if just for numbers purposes, if we could ask everyone to let us know if there was just you or if you had your partner or other people, if you could maybe give us a number in the chat so that we know how many people were participating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Gingras, for this wonderful presentation tonight. And thank you everyone for taking the time out of your evening to attend. I hope that you found this very valuable. The licenses that we do have available to you, it's an excellent program and it's free of cost. We were able to get funding to cover that for you. So I highly encourage you to reach out and access these great resources. As well, if you do go through the Hold Me Tight training and you decide that you do need some further couples training, that is where you can come through mental health services at CF Health Services Center, Ottawa. And we are able to refer you for couples counseling, and we do refer to EFT primarily, but also Gottman trained therapists. But if we knew that you were doing this type of training, we'd be able to connect you with an EFT therapist, and that would be available to you free of cost as well. Okay.
Okay, that's great. Great.
Kendra, Vicky, did you have any final comments?
I just wanted to add that the licenses are active for 3 years, because a few people have asked questions like, oh, how long do I have to do them? So when you sign up, you will be given one code that you share between you and your partner. And actually they're active for up to 3 years. So if you complete it and you want to visit it again in a little bit of time, you have some time for that.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you, Norma.
You're so welcome. Go ahead, Dorothy, you were going to say something, I think.
Thank you. If anyone did have any feedback that they wanted to provide tonight, where should that be going? Is that to you, Maya, or okay? Well, if
Sorry, you cut out.
anyone does have any feedback that they did want to provide. Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear what you asked.
Okay. I think my internet may be a little finicky, but I just wanted to know if anyone had any feedback to provide about the session today. Where should that be going?
They can send it to either health promotion NCR at CFMWS or the same email address that has for the Hold Me Tight licenses. So the one that we left for everyone. Be great.
Great. I also just saw in the chat, somebody asked how do we get EFT sessions? So the easiest way to go about that is you can call mental health intake services at the clinic here in Ottawa. The number is 613-945-1060. So we offer mental health intake Monday to Friday from 7:30 to noon. You'll get a call back within 1 business day. So we would do an intake with you over the phone, and then we can make the referral for couples counseling. Alternatively, you can also see your doctor and they could make a referral for you as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you for your attention. Merci de votre attention. Bonne soirée. Good night, everybody. Hopefully we'll meet again.